So today's presentation is about the power of ritual practices for caregivers with Kitty Edwards. Kitty is a keynote speaker, an author, sacred ceremonialist, and master teacher. She's trained with wisdom keepers in Southeast Asia, as well as in North and South America. She's currently the executive director of the Living and Dying Consciously Project. That's a nonprofit organization that strives to empower individuals to build resilience as they navigate the complexities of living with loss, aging, and dying. She's a longtime Boulder resident. She taught at Boulder High School for many years. Kitty and I, we were just figuring out that we perhaps met each other near 40 years ago. So we've both been around a long time in Boulder. Kitty's a community organizer. She co-founded the No Regrets Project, something called Conversations on Death, and also the Boulder County Threshold Choir. And she's an author of a book called Conscious Transitions, Living with Dying, and has written many articles on rituals and ceremonies to approach death as a rite of passage. So please join me in welcoming Kitty Edwards to our presentation.
Thank you, Barry. It's wonderful to finally be with you. I was scheduled to give this talk last March on March 20th, and if you remember, on March 18th, we all shut down. We didn't know it was going to be a shutdown for a year, but here we are. So it's nice to be with you. Before I begin, I just want to note that I put a web link in the chat for you. I'm going to be talking about different resources, so I created a web page just for this presentation that has links to other resources that I'm talking about. So you can note that one down in the chat and find those resources for yourself after this presentation. So the other thing I'd like, yeah.
Nothing in my chat, if that matters. I don't see anything typed in there.
Barry, what do you think? Can you see it?
I don't see it, and I also looked. If it's put in before people join, then they can't see it.
Okay, let's put it in again.
Oh,
And that,
Do you see it now?
Yes, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Before we begin too, did you all remember to bring 3 stones with you to this session?
No.
No? Yeah. If you don't have a stone, you can grab other objects that are around you. And you need a vessel of water, and it can be a glass of water or a bowl of water. So if you want to take a minute right now and go grab some stones and a vessel of water. I've got my vessel back here behind me. So we're going to do a ritual in the middle of this presentation called the Well of Grief. So you need a well. That'd be great. So I invite you right now to focus your attention on the area of your heart. And imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart. Breathing a little deeper and a little slower than you usually breathe. Continue breathing deeply and slowly. When the usual scaffolding of our lives has been dismantled, when the comforting routines that sustain us have all but disappeared, then ritual and ceremony become vital nourishment, perhaps as never before. There are over 55 million caregivers, unpaid caregivers in our country today. I am one of them. I have been a caregiver for many people in my life. I know firsthand that caregiving is an intimate, personal, and often difficult journey. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with a wide variety of caregivers, adult children taking care of their elderly parents, parents caring for a very sick child, a spouse caring for his partner, professional caregivers working in palliative, hospice, ICUs, ERs, all working very hard to care for the people in their charge. I've been honored to listen to their stories as they share their grief, their challenges, and the priceless moments of joy. In 2018, my organization, the Living and Dying Consciously Project, we interviewed 180 caregivers in Colorado, asking them what rituals did they practice. Not surprisingly, many of them didn't know they practiced rituals. One hospice nurse said, well, when I leave a home after I've lost one of my patients, I turn on some sad music and I cry in my car as I'm driving from one house to the next. She cries out her grief. A daughter I talked to, she's caring for her mom with dementia, and she said on her morning walks, she walks her dog every morning, she would pick up different stones along the way and put them in her pocket and bring them back to engage with her mom. And they would talk about the stones. What kind of personality did they have, the stones? And what kind of texture? They would feel the stones together. This is a ritual. Another mother caring for her adult son with MS dances with her grief when she gets really blue. And every morning she pins a flower in her hair, a paper flower, different colors, to remind her to be grateful. So every day you see her, she'll have blue, orange, red, yellow flowers in her hair. These are all rituals. Many people think rituals are practiced only in sacred ceremonies, spiritual ceremonies, only in the vernacular of a traditional religion. This, of course, is reinforced because many dictionaries often define rituals as a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. Well, that sort of places it in the hands of religion, but rituals do not have to be defined this way. I prefer a definition of rituals as a sequence of activities involving gestures, words, actions, objects, performed with intention and attention. Rituals are and ceremonies have been practiced as long as human beings have been on this planet. Which rituals are featured in every culture on the planet. Some anthropologists think that rituals are actually a basic human instinct. Rituals are not habits. Habits are things that we do without thinking. So, like brushing our teeth in the morning, or taking our shower, or dressing, things like that. These are habitual activities that we don't have to think too much about. Maybe in getting dressed, we have to figure that out, but in general, we do it habitually. Rituals, in contrast, have more meaning. They increase mindfulness. And as I mentioned before, rituals have set intentions and they require attention, our attention. And they may be repeated, but they don't have to be repeated. Rituals may be spiritual in nature, but they may also be secular. Rituals can be grand events, but they can be small, private activities. Though the nature of rituals is highly emotional at times, research tells us that they are more rational than we actually think. We engage in rituals for a reason. We engage to make connections, build self confidence, ask for protection. The Trabelanders are people who live in the Solomon Sea off the coast of Papua New Guinea. They practice rituals when they fish out in the open ocean, but they don't practice rituals when they're fishing in the very safe lagoon near the island because there are no sharks there. So rituals set this intention, in this case for protection and guidance. Rituals also shape our self-perception. Who are we? Are we safe? Are we connected? Are we supported? Other functions of rituals include that they create and strengthen the bonds between people. And I'm sure you've all experienced that at weddings or funerals. Rituals serve as reassurance and create stability in a crisis. Rituals forge a bridge between the past and the present. Rituals distinguish soul time from calendar time. Rituals help heal the body and the soul. Rituals recognize and usher in the changes in our age, our stages of life. This would be a rite of passage, but at the same time, they recognize the different stages. They also keep reminding us of the deep and unchanging things about ourselves and our community. Rituals help us say goodbye. Rituals honor the sacred at the heart of every day. A ritual is an embodied symbolic act through which we render visible the invisible values, emotions, and insights that are most essential to us. This is a really interesting fact. I just love this because rituals provide benefit even to those who do not believe in the efficacy of rituals. So even if you don't believe in rituals, if you participate in one, there will be benefits for you. I think that's wonderful. Experts tell us that people who practice rituals have less anxiety, they increase their resilience, they gain confidence, and they process grief more healthily. In fact, the absence of rituals make us feel more disconnected, confused, apprehensive, and alone. And especially in this time of separation, rituals become even more important. A successful communal ritual invokes universal emotions of unity, relationship, and awe. Modern scientists and the wisdom keepers around the world agree that those who practice personal rituals cope with the stress of loss much better. Caregivers in particular experience a broad spectrum of emotions throughout the day, as we all do. But caregivers, they're focused on the person they're caring for, and they don't have time oftentimes to stop and think about their emotions. For caregiving teams, hospice, palliative care, ICU, ER staff, the research indicates that rituals make teams more efficient. Rituals lower the burnout rate of team members. Rituals lower the number of sick days taken. And rituals lower employee turnover. So the health of the team is supported by team rituals. For family caregiver, they face additional challenges because many of them work in more isolation and without a large team with them. Even the most well-adjusted folks in the most well-adjusted relationships struggle with the transition from the foundation of that original relationship as it evolves into something new. It is often very difficult to maintain emotional balance in these cases. So as a wife, I'm now caring for my husband. I'm still a wife, he's still a husband, but I'm a caregiver too. And how do we navigate that as I take on more responsibilities, more roles that maybe he previously had done? So those are tricky emotions and transitions to work through. Preparing for and celebrating the transitions or the thresholds in our life as we walk through them allows us to live more consciously with courage and joy. A rite of passage ritual helps us make necessary transitions. A rite of passage ritual is usually a communal event, like a wedding or a graduation, a retirement. The community comes together to support that transition. The community honors who we were. They honor the ceremony at the threshold, and then they honor the new role that we've taken on and the new responsibilities. It's important for the community to witness this because we need our communities to support us in this way. In order to practice a rite of passage, we must make preparations. We must design rituals at the threshold, and we must celebrate those new beginnings. Researchers working with veterans suffering from PTSD have used rituals, a rite of passage rituals, to help those veterans create a new identity. Research has also been done on women who have suffered from abuse, and they too need to create a new identity. And in these research studies, the veterans and the women have created art, music, they tell stories, and they've created rituals at that threshold to pull in the strength and resilience they need to support the new identity that they've created. In our culture, we're pretty good at celebrating the beginnings, but we're not so good at celebrating the endings. We don't have rituals for divorce or job loss or the loss of a home, for miscarriage, for aging, for the process of dying. Caregivers who care for people with degenerative diseases or a terminal diagnosis do their caregiving standing on shifting sands. Every day they live with loss. It is so important for caregivers to honor their previous role as a partner, wife, husband, daughter, or son, and consciously step across the threshold into their new role as caregiver. In doing so, they step into their new responsibilities and relinquish old expectations. They gain the confidence to face the new challenges ahead. It's helpful for caregivers to step into ceremony. And I'd like you to step into ceremony with me. I invite you to step into ceremony with me. We're going to do a ceremony called the Well of Grief. And if you have stones with you, you can put them in front of you right now. And I have a well of grief right here for myself. So I'm going to place it closer to me. So we use our breath in this ritual because our breath is what brings in new life, and our exhale allows that which doesn't serve us anymore to dissipate. We release it from our bodies. We also use stones, and wisdom keepers in many, many traditions around the world tell us that stones hold wisdom for us. And the mountains where the stones come from are the source of all the wisdom in the world. So please get comfortable. Have your stones in front of you. And again, if you would, I invite you to focus your attention on the area of your heart. Breathing in and out a little deeper and slower than usual. And as you breathe, I'm going to call in assistance from elements in the natural world. So keep doing your heart breath. Today, I call on the mountains to share their wisdom. I call on the rivers to teach us the sweetest flow in our journey through life. I call on the trees to breathe with us so that we can feel more connected to all of life. I call on the animals, great and small. I ask them to share their beauty. I call on the earth herself to hold us and give us strength. I call on the stars above to shine down on us, lighting our way. Now, I want you to take a look at your 3 stones. Let me get mine up here. Take a look at them. One of these stones is a lodestone, and it will draw you to it. It will get your attention. So choose a lodestone for today's ceremony. I've got my lodestone. And then put your lodestone in your left hand and put a second stone in your right hand. So you've got hands full of stones or other objects. So now I want you to think of a regret you might have. It could be a little bitty regret, or it could be a great big regret. Something you regret in your life. A regret can be an action you took or an action you did not take. Regret creates a feeling that, oh, I wish it had happened differently. So focus on that regret and let it bubble up in your energy, in your body. Keep breathing into it. It's okay. Notice where that regret might be stored in your body. Is it in your shoulders or the back of your neck or your belly? And when you regret, when you're ready, I want you to blow that regret into the stone in your right hand. Let this stone just hold that regret for you. No judgment. Just let it go. Let's blow again to make sure you got that regret delivered. Okay. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to think of a lesson you might have learned from that regret. Did you learn to take action? Did you learn to be more compassionate? Did you learn not to speak before you think? Did you learn to be stronger? Did you learn to be wiser? What was the lesson that regret brought to you? And as you focus on that lesson, that gift, again, find that gift where it resides in your body. If it's compassion, where does compassion reside? If it's independence, where does your independence reside? Allow that gift to sparkle and grow. Give it breath. Breathe into it. This is a gift you've owned for years, I imagine. And when you're ready, blow that gift into the lodestone in your left hand. And take another breath and blow in again. Make sure that lodestone gets it fully. And holding onto your lodestone in your left hand, drop the stone in your right hand into the water. And now pick up your third stone in your right hand. You've still got your lodestone in your left hand. And again, focus your attention on the area of your heart. Breathe in a little deeper and slower than usual. I invite you to let your grief bubble up today. Recognize that grief lives within each of us. You can think about a big grief or a small grief. The grief connects us to the ones we've lost. Allow yourself to feel grief in this moment. And now notice, where does grief reside in your body? Is it in your chest? In your throat? In your arms? And breathe into that area of your body where grief resides. Holding it, honoring that grief, recognizing that grief keeps us connected. And when you're ready, blow your grief into the stone in your right hand and let that stone hold your grief for you. And take a moment to feel the grief that's in the room right now. As we breathe in and out together in community, we share our grief. And when you're ready, drop the stone in your right hand into the water. Now I invite you to think of someone who brings you joy. Visualize them. Hear their voice. Smile. Smile at them. Step into joy. And notice where joy resides in your body. Notice the energy of joy. And when you're ready, blow your joy into your lodestone. And now bring your lodestone to your heart. Bring that joy to your heart. And breathe in and out a little slower and a little deeper than normal, sharing that joy with your heart. Know that our hearts are connected in grief and joy. And while you continue your heart breath, I will thank the natural forces that came in for this ceremony to support us. So I thank the mountains for sharing their wisdom. I thank the rivers for sharing how to find the sweetest flow in our lives. I thank the trees for breathing with us today, reminding us that we are connected to all of life. I thank the animals for sharing their beauty. I thank the earth for her strength. And I thank the stars for lighting our way. Aho. Now, this lodestone you can place on your altar or on your desk or on your kitchen counter, somewhere where you'll see it. So when you have a delight, you can blow it into your lodestone. When you discover a gift in yourself, when you've been compassionate, when you've been grateful, you can blow it into your lodestone. The information you have in your lodestone is a way in which you've loved yourself and will remind you to love yourself in the future. So the intention of this ritual was to honor your regrets and your griefs. When you blow them into the stone holds them for you so that you can create new spaciousness in your energy body. When you release it into the water, it drains out that grief or regret. This is an action of letting go. But before you let go, you have to honor. And you honor them, you honor the regrets, you honor the grief with your attention. The script for this ritual is on that web page I created for you. It's in a category called Death, a Rite of Passage, and you can find the script to this ritual. Also, in Death as a Rite of Passage, there are many, many resources that I've listed in case you want to investigate that a little further. So, how's everybody feeling? Okay? Everybody okay?
Great, Kitty. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Are there any questions at this point? We've been sort of motoring through. You're welcome to unmute yourself if you have any questions. The next section, I'm going to talk about maintenance rituals for caregivers. And actually, maintenance rituals are good for all of us. But we developed this list of maintenance rituals from the ideas that the caregivers we interviewed gave us. So we developed these in relationship to caregiving. But of course, we need to be caregivers of ourselves as well. The main thing that caregivers told us is that it's really difficult when they get stuck in an emotion. So they're caring for their loved one and maybe they get angry. What do they do with that anger? Because they need to move it on, move it out so that they can focus on the job at hand. They don't want to get stuck in grief. They don't want to get stuck in anger or depression or disappointment. These are depleting emotions, and they drain our resilience, actually. So it's important for all of us to track our emotions, to know when we're angry, to know when we're disappointed, to know when we're grieving. Sometimes people don't even know that they're subdued by grief. And all these emotions are fine. There's nothing bad about any of these emotions, but it's appropriate to recognize them. Be aware of where you are emotionally. What's your emotional state? The next step after being aware is to accept them. Okay, I'm angry. What am I going to do with this being angry? Or, okay, I'm grieving. What do I do with this grief? And this is where rituals come in because rituals help us move our emotions. As you probably experienced in the ritual we just did, we moved from grief to joy. We moved from regret to realizing that there was a gift under that regret, possibly. Maintenance rituals help caregivers honor their emotions, shift their energies, and move through. In our conversations with caregivers, we gathered again rituals that are proven to work and maintain emotional balance. And there's several categories of these, and I'll just tell you what the categories are to give you a framework for what I'm going to talk about. They're morning intention rituals. They're moving on rituals. They're rebalancing issues. They're altars as a ritual. And those are the and they're inspirational rituals. So I'm going to start with morning intentions. This is a fun one. So a morning intention is really to consciously in the morning set up some kind of ritual practice where you set an intention for the day. Um, one of the ones I do a lot is pick a song for the day. So as you're laying in bed, even if you just say, what's a good song to get me through today? You know what your schedule is, you know maybe what your challenges are. What song would help me get through the day? And if you can't remember the words, Google them, listen to the song maybe, get it sort of set in your field and sing it. So sing it in the morning and then take a break and sing it in the afternoon and sing it in the evening. I know that my morning songs tend to be, for some reason, deal with sunshine. So I'm always talking about sunshine songs like Good Morning Starshine. The earth says hello. You twinkle above us. We twinkle below. That's from the musical Hair. Or You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. So mine tend to be sunshine songs, but yours will be totally different. So sing a song. It sets an intention. Another one that I learned actually in Borneo was a tapping. So a morning intention of tapping. So after you brush your teeth and you take your shower and you're having your morning tea, you need to tap yourself awake. And what was recommended to me is that you tap your belly for right action. And then you tap your forehead for right thinking. And then you tap your heart for right loving. And you've set the intention for the day. Another one is to literally think of an intention for the day and write it down. And I'm doing this right now. Um, I fix my tea in the morning and I sit down and I think, okay, what's my intention for today? And my intention this morning was to have courage because I have to get up in front of you and speak. So I have courage to be me today. So I write that down on a piece of paper, courage to be me. And so actually it's on a sticky note and I have that sitting in my house. And then tonight, before I go to bed, I will look at that sticky note and I will say, how'd it go? Did I have courage to be me today? Now, I've got a difficult meeting coming up this afternoon with a finance team of all things. So I've got to have courage to be me there too. So that's my intention for the day. So, what I'd like you to do right now is to think about what is your intention for the rest of this day? What is your intention for the rest of this day? Now, I often use the five practices of the no regrets practice, and I'll just list these off, and maybe one of these will be something you want to write down as an intention. They are be grateful every day. So being grateful, that could be an intention. Courage to be me. Trust, take the risk. Is this one of those days you need to just trust? Choose joy. So no matter what happens today, just choose joy. And lastly, love myself and share it. Is today a day you need to just love yourself? So write down your intention for the day. And once you get it down, I want you to write it in the chat, but I don't want you to send it. So when you get ready, write your intention in the chat, but don't push enter. Just type it in and wait. I'll let you know. You, Karen, have you got it in yet? Oh, she's typing.
I like all 5 of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Barry, you got your intention for the day in? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Everybody get ready and now push return. Everybody at once. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Be kind to myself. That's a great one. Courage to be me. See the beauty of living. Courage to be me. Compassion. Oh, that's such a good intention. Choosing. Great one. Choosing exuberant joy. I got it. Trust. That's a good one. Get joy. I like that. I like that. So intentions can come from all kinds of resources within yourself, depending on what you're going to confront for the day. Now, what I'd like you to do is keep that piece of paper, and tonight, before you go to bed, see if you were able to appreciate clients and everyone else and get joy and have the courage to be you. So check it out. And then tomorrow morning, set a new intention for yourself for the day. It's an interesting ritual because those intentions will shift and change. So I'll be going along through my week, and all of a sudden, my intention in the morning is love myself. And I'm going like, uh-oh, I better pay attention to myself. I might need a little more sleep or, take a nap, call a friend, pay attention to myself. So intentions for the morning, that's one. Another one, moving on rituals. Now, these moving on rituals are really important for people who are caregivers in medical facilities who have to service one client or patient and then another and then another and another. A moving on ritual. One of my favorites is shake it off. Now, animals in the wild do this. A gazelle running across the grasslands being chased by a lion. Finally, the lion catches another gazelle. Oh, but I'm free. I'm a gazelle. I'm free. What the gazelle does is they shake it off, literally. Shaking off that fight or flight. But you can shake off any emotion. So just shaking things off is a great way to do. Some of our caregivers, they go into the bathroom and shake it off between clients. Or maybe they've been in a difficult situation and it's gotten maybe their energies up, their adrenaline up a little bit, so they need to go shake it off because they got to move on. Another one was mentioned at the beginning when I started talking about the nurse, hospice nurse, who puts on sad music if she loses a client while driving from one house to the next to sing out or listen, grieve, let her emotions flow. That's a moving on ritual. There's some beginning research on aromatherapy being a moving on ritual. It's interesting what they're discovering about anise, sage, and lavender. These essential oils help you move on. Another one is chanting. This is one of my favorites. Chanting, you create vibration in your energy field, and it really it's like shaking things off, but it does it internally with your vocal cords. So you want to try some? The Bija mantras are my favorite. I don't have them up, but let's see if we can just do a little chanting. It's fun. You'll get the gist. They're called the Bija, Bija mantras. They're from the Vedic tradition. And what they are for is to clear your chakras. Okay? So let's try one or two. Your first chakra is located down in your pelvic area. And the mantra for that, the chant is LUM, L-U-M, LUM. So right now, just chant with me. LUM, LUM, LUM. And let's go up to the heart chakra. The heart chakra chant is YUM, Y-U-M, YUM. So let's chant for the heart. YUM, YUM, YUM. And now let's chant for the forehead, the sixth chakra. And this is the traditional Om, but it's not just O-M, it's Om. So chant with me. Om. 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 So that's chanting. Check in with your energy field. Does it feel a little different? It's fun. Washing your hands. Caregivers tell us in facilities, of course, they have to wash their hands all the time. But even using those automatic hand sanitizers at the doors, they're using those, but they stop. And with their intention, they're washing away whatever else they were doing before they opened this new door to a new client or a patient. They're washing it away. So they set their intention and they pay attention. Of course, they're doing a habitual activity of washing their hands, but they're doing it with a different consciousness, with an intention of really freeing themselves up to walk in fresh into a new room, engaging new people in the day. Heart focused breathing is a moving on. You've already done it several times during this presentation. You focus on the area of your heart. You breathe in and out a little deeper and slower. And you continue this breath until you feel an energy shift. This heart focused breathing comes from Heart Math Institute. Heart focused breathing brings you into a state of coherence. And what this means is that your brain and your heart are communicating with each other. It's very useful in situations that get tense because you don't have the opportunity to go sit in the corner and meditate. This is sort of an active engagement with your breath so that you shift your energy state into coherence. Heart Math has been training police officers, military folks, people that get into adrenaline filled situations, but they have to release that quickly. So, heart focused breathing. Stones, using stones. I know I mentioned the daughter who would gather stones on her walk in the morning and then bring like different stones back and show her mother, like, oh, here's a black stone, here's a white stone. There are lots of rituals that involve stones. Even just holding a stone can bring you peace and calm. They're so solid. So you can set an intention to work with the stone but you have to pay attention to it too. So there are tons of rituals you could create with stones. Tree therapy. So for people who are working in a facility, we often encourage them in a stressful time when they get a break, don't just go to the break room, go outside. If you can, find a tree, sit down and lean on it. And with your intention, connect with the roots of the trees and the stability of the tree, and let the tree hold you, your backbone, so that you realize you can ground yourself. The tree will remind you how to ground yourself and regain your strength and equanimity. That's a great one. We should all do that once a day. So we've done morning attention, and we've done moving on rituals, and now rebalancing issues. And rebalancing issues usually happen towards the end of the day or in the evening. These rituals would be when you would look at the intention of the day to see how you did. You can do heart massage is a great one at the end of the day. It's just doing a circular motion in the area of your heart so that it's a loving, intentional ritual for yourself. You know, like I'm okay. I might not have been perfect today, but I'm okay. I'm okay. You can write down things to rebalance. If there's something you need to write down, you can speak it. And you can also get what are called fly paper that you can write it something down on it and then set it afire and it just disperses, or you can drop the paper into water and it dissolves. That's a nice rebalancing ritual at the end of the day. Let it go. If there was a regret in the day, let it go. Another category are inspirations. And this is what caregivers actually asked us. They said, we need things that give us inspiration during the day, but we don't have a lot of time. So what would you suggest? And so what I would suggest, and these are my favorite online apps or online offerings. Number one, you've probably heard of all of these, dailygood.org. So that you can get an email every morning that tells you a really wonderful story that gives you hope and inspiration instead of turning on the real news. Grateful Living, a network of Grateful Living, is another website. You can get daily emails with quotes about gratitude. Plus, you can send an e-card for free to a friend, thanking them, sharing your gratitude. They also have birthday cards. They're all free. Another, this is an app that you can download to your phone. It's an insight timer. You can set up daily meditations, and they can be short, like 2-minute meditations. You can create a library of things that they offer that you like, so that if you're in a hurry and you only have 5 minutes, you could sit down, look at your library, and pick a 5-minute meditation just to bring you back to center. So you have to download that app to your phone. Inner balance reminders. These come from HeartMath, and they remind you to do your heart-focused breathing. But unfortunately for that, you have to have the HeartMath equipment. So that's a little more complicated. But of course, you could set your own timer to stop you, every 2 hours and do some heart-focused breathing. There's another app called Mood Tracker that you can track your moods, which is really interesting. I did this, I haven't done it recently, but a couple of years ago, so that you stop and say, what's my mood right now? And it's like, I don't know, what is my mood? And so you're tracking like your emotions, and it really makes you a much more skilled tracker. To say, oh yeah, I'm a little sort of disappointed here. Oh, that brought up a little grief. Oh, I was really delighted with that result. That was some joy. So it really helps you sort of recognize as you move through your day your experience of emotions. It brings them to your consciousness rather than just experiencing them through the day. So, and then the last category of rituals today is altars. Altars can be interior or exterior. They can be huge. They can be small. Humans have built altars for 30,000 years, probably a lot longer than that, but that's what anthropologists tell us. We often build altars without even knowing it. Like if you have a desk that you work at or a place where you've put photograph of family members or little mementos, we build little altars all the time, but we don't always say, oh, what's the intention of this altar? Again, to make a ritual really work, you want to have that intention, set that intention. Maybe it's to keep, if it's a group of pictures of your relatives, your kids, your brother, your sister, it's to keep connection with those who aren't present right now. So my intention of this is to keep connections and then pay attention. So when I walk by those pictures, I look and go, oh, hi. Yeah, I should probably call you. Yeah. So altars, we do it instinctually, as anthropologists have told us. Altars are also very good in times of transition. One altar that you might not have thought about is a moving to solutions altar, a problem solving altar. So if you've got a difficult situation or you've got to solve a problem, set up an altar and select objects that represent different parts of that problem. And then visit that altar. You can write little notes like, I'm thinking about this today, and slip it on your altar. Or you could say, I have a question, slip it on your altar. Um, Keep visiting your altar. You can freshen up the altar, bring it gifts of natural leaves and trees or treats or chocolate, whatever the altar wants. But don't be surprised. The solution that the altar helps you find might not be the one you would have thought of logically. So altars are only as powerful as you are visiting them. You have to give them your attention. So otherwise, if you set it up and go away, they're going to go away too. So an ancestor altar. I'm sure you've all heard of an ancestor altar. Of course, they're very popular around the end of October, 1st of November with the Day of the Dead. The tradition in Mexico is to set up your ofrenda, your altar for your ancestors. But you can set up an ancestor altar all year. In fact, my ancestor altar is right behind me. You can see it. That big cat over there, that's from Egypt. But the cat is the guardian for all my ancestors who were photographed. Lots of different photographs there. So my altar is there, but I just don't leave it there. I actually, bring it gifts. I freshen it up. Sometimes I'll meditate or take an object from the altar and meditate with it. If I have a challenge, and especially in caregiving, because ancestors are great at caregiving, they can give you different suggestions of how to solve a problem or how to shift your own attitudes about a situation. Now, what I've been surprised by working with ancestors is that they oftentimes appear in dream time and give me suggestions. They also tend to talk to me in meditations if I'm working with my ancestor altar. So be open to imaginative thinking because your ancestors have imaginative ways of getting in contact with you. Another altar is a no regrets altar. Now, the No Regrets Project is one of our projects at the Living and Dying Consciously project, and you can learn about it by going to our homepage. There's a tab there that says projects, and you can click on it and you get the No Regrets Project. Um, Again, it's really focused on those 5 practices: be grateful every day, trust, take the risk, courage to be me, choose joy, and love myself and share it. And I believe there's an article, if you go to the resource page I set up for you and click on Death as a Rite of Passage, there is an article about the foundation, how the No Regrets Project was created. It was created by a Boulder resident, Patty Panza, in the last 6 months of her life because she wanted to get to her deathbed without regrets. It's a fascinating story. Anyway, those are the practices. So if you set up a no regrets altar, you would have those 5 practices and you would choose from them and you could choose to work on them each day, sort of like setting your attention. So if you go to our website and click on the No Regrets Project, there is something called a No Regrets bundle. It's free. You can download it. It has the article about the No Regrets Project. It has journal pages if you want to keep a journal. It has a lotus flower altar. It's an origami project that you can cut out and fold and have a lotus flower altar. Trying to think what else is. Anyway, it's a bundle. It's a bundle. So you could check that out too. I want to share 3 books with you. And this is the last altar I was going to talk about. 3 books on rituals have come out recently that I just adore. And one of them is called Morning Altars by Day Skilcret. This is where you go out in nature every morning and pick up things that you find, and then you build altars like this in the morning. Now, Dave's pretty good at it. My altars never look as good as his, but it's a way of having a ritual every day. So there's a close-up of his altars. It's a beautiful book. He has a website. You can just go look at his altars on the website, and he teaches you how to step into this practice. Another one is The Power of Rituals that came out in the summer. And it's really talking mostly about communal rituals, how we've created modern communal rituals for ourselves, which is fascinating. But now my most favorite book, and I only got it last week because it was published this month, is this one, Where Wonders Live, Practices for Cultivating the Sacred in Your Daily Life by Fabiana Fandavilla. She's from South America. So this book has been translated into English. It's great fun. I'm reading it every morning now. It's really, really wonderful fun. So one other thing I wanted to, I can show you a slide of this. Let me just, I'll just flip these up really quick. Let's get the quote up. Okay, those are the books I just mentioned right there. And another project that we did last year was Conscious Caregiving. We spent 2 years creating an 18-part series. Each segment, each chapter has a story about a caregiver. It has a ritual video of a simple ritual. Every video is only 1 minute long, so a very simple ritual to practice. Tips on different topics of caregiving, and then a list of resources. And you can learn more about this from the resource page. If you have people who are caregivers right now, you can just tell them to go to the link and put their name in, and every week they will receive for 18 weeks a little chapter on caregiving. Now, we were told by the caregivers we interviewed, we don't have much time for things, so don't give us too much. So they're short. You can read them in 3 minutes. The video is only 1 minute, but they're focused on specific categories of caregiving, such as self-care for caregivers, grief, family dynamics when families run into trouble, dementia, spousal caregiving, how do you care for your spouse, and many, many other topics, 18 topics. Caring for veterans is one. And then towards the end is how you approach the end of life, caregiving. And then what do you do after caregiving is done? The last story is on after the one you've been caring for is gone. This is a free offering. Please share it with your colleagues, your friends, any caregivers that you know of. So, uh, the other thing I wanted to mention today is our signature course is called Conscious Transitions Living with Dying. We've brought it online. It's really a very, very rich experience. It's a 6 weeks course where you meet once a week with the big group, and then once a week you meet with a small group, 4 students with 1 teacher. We have 10 teachers teaching in this project, this workshop. They're from all over the country and Canada and Mexico, the teachers. And people are coming in from all over the places, certainly across the US and in Canada. If you're interested in this workshop, there is some information about it on that resource page I gave you. Our next class starts next Wednesday, and we have 2 seats left. So if you're interested, you can get in touch with me, or you can find out more information through that resource page. So that sort of brings us to the end of my presentation, but I would like to hear from you because I imagine some of you are caregivers too. Questions? Comments? Suggestions? I love suggestions. You can just unmute yourself.
I'll jump in, Kitty, and just thank you. I appreciate the rock ritual. That really helped me to release all the adrenaline and cortisol from people trying to get on and have the wrong link.
Now there's a regret for you, Barry. It's like, oh, everything went wrong, but you need to let it go. Yeah,
Let it go.
good. I'm
And
glad that helped.
for anyone who joined us late, who were trying to get on, we'll make this video available so you can watch the intro in the beginning.
Yeah.
Well,
Hi, Karen. Karen who's talking?
that
Patty?
was Patty. I was just saying thank you. This has been really helpful. I have a friend with Parkinson's, and her husband takes care of her, but he has leukemia, so it's, yeah,
Wow. What a
yeah, it's really
challenge.
challenging, and it will be fun when I get to go play with her again to do some of these rituals with her, I think.
Right. How far along is she in Parkinson's?
It's always difficult to gauge, but she forgets to use her walker, so she falls quite often
Oh
at
yeah,
home.
I know that stage. My dad had Parkinson's.
Yeah.
We had to put jingle bells on the back of his chair so we would hear it move because he would get up and forget his walker and be face down. So
Oh dear.
no fun at all.
Yeah.
So, well, there's a one of the rituals, I can't remember which episode it is in the conscious caregiving, is doing the hokey pokey. Put your right foot in, put your right foot out. It's great fun with a walker
Oh, great. Okay.
because turning all about with your walker
Uh-huh.
is really quite fun. So check that out.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Patty. Anybody else?
What was the second website you mentioned after dailygood.org?
Oh, let me go look. It was gratitude. It was
Grateful Living.
Grateful Living. So it's, I think you can get to it at what, grateful-living.org, Barry? Is that what it is?
You said .com, but I didn't look it up.
Okay, yeah, it's Grateful Living. If you put Grateful Living in It's called, the official name of the organization is a network of grateful living. They're just wonderful, just wonderful. So I get those every day, and I get the daily good emails every morning. They give you a quote and then an article on something that's uplifting. I don't always have time to read the articles, but I always read the quotes. So it's fun. Good question. Anything else?
Yes, here's some good news for Barry. Because I couldn't get on the link, I went outside and played in the snow with my new dog. So it was wonderful. So don't worry about it, Barry. And if I need to watch the beginning, I will look at it. Thank you.
Good, Karen. I love that. Everything just works out just fine. So
Thank you, Rich.
yeah, so Rich got it all worked out and got that email out lickety split to people. So how many of you are caregivers?
Not many.
Not many. That's amazing. Usually I run into a lot of caregivers, but that's okay. It's a small group today, and that's fine too. I love doing smaller groups. Sometimes Barry, I'm doing presentations like this to 300 people, and I can't make connection, and I feel much more connected to the small group. So it's much more fun for me.
One thing I learned from you, Kitty, I'll just add that when I suggest to people that I work with, clients, about doing simple things like creating a ritual, I don't walk them through it. And so by you leading the exercise today and me having my rocks ready and the bowl of water, it made the whole thing move from intellect and head stuff to below the neck,
Mm.
live. And that was powerful, and a good reminder about those of us who are therapists. Just talking about stuff doesn't quite cut it sometimes. That experiential experiences and what we do on our own and what we do with other people by leading them through is important.
It is. And again, realize people don't realize they practice rituals anyway. But this key to practicing rituals is so important. The intention and attention. If you're working with a client, you might get them to talk about a possible ritual and then just keep saying, what's the intention of this ritual? And how will you bring your attention to it? Um, that really helps people realize what a ritual is, because we're so separated from, traditional religious uh, rituals, and those rituals were defined for us. So when you say to someone, create a ritual, they really don't have a grab bag to pull from. So, yeah, walking them through it. And that's why I torture people with the rituals on presentations like this. I make you chant, I make you breathe from your heart, because these are really simple rituals, but, and they've been thought about. Actually, that the research behind heart focused breathing is incredible. So it's a really powerful ritual. So it's good. Good point, Barry. Yeah, walk people through. Even people who are resistant to rituals. I work with a lot of scientists. Um, you need to pitch it in their vernacular. So that way of opening up sacred space I use, using the mountains and the river and the trees. Not everybody is going to relate to that kind of opening of sacred space. With scientists, I often use elements from the periodic table. So I call in oxygen and hydrogen and nitrogen, and then I call in silicon from below to hold us and ground us. And then I ask for helium to pull us to the stars. Scientists love that. So be creative. you've got to get where the people are. You've got to come from where they're coming from in order to help them step into ritual. And I have lots of scientists I work with now who are practicing intentional rituals because I also give them the research papers behind it because they know it works.
I appreciated the reminder about the elements also, because in our lives, the rituals that we participate in, like brushing our teeth or reading a story to our kids if we're tucking them in bed, they're focused on stuff that we've created that's man-made, that's inside. But if we think about the culture and how we relate to nature, it's more outside of our houses or outside of ourselves. Um,
It certainly connects us to a bigger world, to a universe. It expands our imagination. You know, we don't step into mythology as much as ancient people did, or people couple of hundred years ago, even last century. Um, Mythology and magical thinking and storytelling connect us to something that's more universal in nature and in humans. And if you read the mythology in different cultures, it's even like creation mythology. It's interesting to create rituals around that if you really get into rituals. So, but
mhm.
they can be really simple. Any other questions?
I'm curious about what other people do in their personal life regarding rituals.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. Would anyone like to share a ritual they practice? It might be meditation. Hey, Kathy, sure.
I have every morning I have a love fest with my two dogs, and I tell them how much I like them, and I pet them and groom them, brush them, and then give them each a little people biscuit, and then we're off.
And who do you think that benefits more, you or them?
Oh, probably all three of us.
Yes, ma'am. That's great. But you do it intentionally. That's not a habit. That sounds very intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I haven't met anyone that's created an interesting ritual around brushing their teeth because that is so habitual. You know, we want to do it without thinking. So, mainly because we're probably half asleep. So, what other rituals do you have? Dawn, Stephanie, Sonia, do you have rituals?
I have an exercise program that I do every morning for my back where I lie down on the floor and do certain things. And that's the way I get up and start my day every day.
Yeah, and so the intention there is to help your back, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't do it.
True.
So that intention gets you down on the floor and doing your exercises. That's great. I think a lot of people, like even if they're runners or have stationary bikes at home, if you set an intention for that exercise that day, so I have a exercise bike. So now mostly I get on it. It's a habit. I make myself get on it because I got to do it. But if I think about making it a ritual, then I think about what do I want out of this today? And it might be, I want to wake up more parts of my body. And so just by setting that intention, I the experience of the exercise is a little more expansive. What else do people do? Don, I saw you come on, or
I'm
Sonia?
glad to hear you said that about the bicycle, because one of the reasons my picture isn't on is I was on my exercise bicycle while I was listening to you, because I didn't have a chance to get on it earlier this morning.
Well, multitasking is part of our culture. I think that's great. You did it. Yay.
I like the intention of thinking about the body as I do it.
Yeah. Well, most of the time when we have things we have to do, like exercise, we do it as a habit, and that's fine. That's a habit. That's a good habit. Um, but ritual is something different. Yeah.
I was going to say I have a lot of routines, but I wouldn't call them rituals. So I'm not, but maybe that's hard to distinguish.
Well, it depends on how you set your intention. Yeah. I mean, things that might be a ritual for somebody else might not be a ritual for you. So it really is where you want to put your intention and attention. We still have to do activities and work and things. Sonia, I see you now. Do you have a good ritual that you practice during the day?
But when I'm not home recovering from shoulder surgery, I work as a chaplain in a hospital, and I am was very interested in trying to bring in ritual and seeing how that helps people in their resilience, and so that's a part of my interest in ritual. And I have your book, and I was going through that and looking at things that I might be able to bring into the hospital.
Right, right. And you might want to look at some of the conscious caregiving rituals. So they're so simple, you can transfer them to different situations. So I
Yeah,
hope your shoulder gets better quickly.
thank you.
That's a hard recovery.
Yeah,
So,
3 weeks into it. Yeah, right now.
yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
Other rituals?
Well, I had years ago, I used to have shamanic circles in my home, and I sent everyone out to find a tree. I live on Mapleton Hill, to find a tree that spoke to them and then bring back the message. So that was pretty cool. One guy went all the way to Boulder Creek and found a rock that he wrestled out of the bottom and he barely could carry into the house. Uh, and it was interesting because I'd been in a lot of shamanic circles, but and I'd been where the shaman sent people out to do something, and I'd never known what does a shaman do when we're out doing things, and I was the shaman waiting for people to come back. And everyone came back but one for 45 minutes. So I had to do, kind of rituals to, I don't know, delay impatience, waiting for the last person to show up. But it worked.
Oh, good. Hey, that's an interesting point. What are the rituals do we do when we're waiting? What is a waiting ritual? I hadn't even thought of that one. I'm gonna have to think about that. A waiting ritual, because there are a lot of times we're waiting, right?
Mm.
Yeah, we're waiting for the doctor to show up, or we're we're waiting in the grocery line. What are some waiting rituals?
Well,
I'm
that's
gonna think
the way
about
that you
that.
check your phone and look at Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, that's sort of mindless. Yeah, I think that's what we're doing now. That is what we're doing. I That's fascinating. Thank you, Patty. That I'm gonna think about that. Any other rituals?
Yeah, for me, it's there's no words to it in the morning, but it's opening all the drapes, opening the blinds. It's something that fills me and it fills the house with light. And I
Hmm.
just love that in the morning.
Right. And you've noticed how important that is for you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Opening the doors, the windows. That's why the summer is the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a wonderful ritual. It's sort of like inviting in the day. Yeah. I'm inviting in the day. So, any others? Well, one of the things uh, we do, and that was the book. This is the guidebook for conscious transitions, living with dying. It's the original guidebook we developed for our course on conscious transitions. And conscious transitions is really about being conscious about approaching a threshold of transition. Of course, the transition we're dealing with mostly in our workshops is the transition from life to death. But in your life, you will have many transitions. We all will. That's what life is all about. We don't like change, but it happens anyway. And so be creative about expectations. What's coming up in the next year? What are some things that are going to happen that create a transition in my role and my responsibilities? Um, am I going to become a grandmother? Oh, what responsibilities does that take on? What kind of ceremony can I create that allows me to step into that new role more fully, more joyfully, um, more creatively? And then we also have little smaller transitions in our lives where certainly right now we're living shut in. We're not making those connections with people. So how can we connect with people through ritual? So it might be just thinking about who are the 5 people you want to maintain contact with. Don't call them. Sit down and create a ritual for each of them. Create an altar, put a symbolic object on your altar to represent that. It might be my nephew whose birthday is coming up next week. And I'm thinking about, I've got to send him a card. I want to send him a note and I want to talk to him. He's lost his job. He's living with his parents again. He's not too happy. I wonder how he is. So I'm going to set up an altar and put those people that I have a friend with rheumatoid arthritis who's really in bad shape in California. She's isolated. I'm going to think of those 5 people and I'm not going to call them right away. I'm going to take them to my altar and have rituals for them. Write them little notes on the altar. Um, bring them joyful things. Chocolate. Bring the objects, different things on the altar. That will really juice up your connection with them without calling. Of course, eventually, I hope you do call and make that connection, but we don't always have time in our lives to maintain those connections. And we can use our imagination through ritual um, to expand our world, expand our energies and connect. And I think one of the amazing things, I'll tell you a story. In this workshop, we've taught hundreds of workshops of conscious transitions in person because we teach a lot of energy techniques to people, shamanic techniques. Um, and when we got shut down, we had to shut down one workshop after another, just like my not being able to appear on March 20th last year. We weren't ready for Zoom quite yet. So things just kept shutting down. And about July, my board of directors and I had a meeting, and it was like, well, we either need to shut down for the year, which we thought it was only a year, shut down for the year, or we need to trust and take that risk and get this class up online. We decided, well, actually, I was not in favor of putting it online because I thought, oh, no, it's never going to work. And one of my board members says, why don't you call some of the people that are already registered for the in-person class and see what they think? So I pulled a list of 12 people up and I called them and said, okay, I know you're registered for this class. We're going to have to cancel it. We're thinking about taking it online. Would you be interested in taking an online class? Have you taken online classes before? What did you like about them? What did you not like about them? And literally those 12 people, 2A1, talked me into putting the class up online because they had experienced good things in online classes. So they told me different things. So about August, we started working and we jammed it out, got 10 teachers involved. We created let's see if I have it around here somewhere. We created a 75-page workbook just for this online class. Um, we recreated a lot of the things we do in our class. Then we arrive at the class, and the class is a beta class, so we don't know what's going to happen. And we teach 6 weeks, and the depth we could reach in making connections and teaching energy processes at a distance on Zoom was incredible. Now, of course, when we analyzed the evaluations, we were thinking, well, maybe that's because everybody's so desperate, we're all shut in. But it also was, we now need rituals to practice at a distance because we can't be there for the funerals. We can't be there for the weddings. We can't be there for the graduations. We can't hold our friends' hands when they're suffering. So what we found was there was a huge need for making that connection, and rituals will do it for you. I guarantee you, I was so impressed with the students and the 10 teachers and the process of having that courage to step into something new. So try new things. Um, there's a silver lining somewhere in this COVID experience. Stay joyful, stay connected.
Kitty, I want to thank you so much for bringing us to focus on your work, perhaps your life work, if you call it that. And I appreciate you being on hold for a year since last month.
Well, it was okay. I haven't been exactly on hold. I've been a little busy. So, but I'm glad to be able to give this, you know, actually, when I would have given that March presentation to you guys, that conscious caregiving series was coming out about a month and a half after that. So it was a great time to introduce the series. But the series came out. It came out over the COVID experience, and people are really enjoying it. So I'm happy to be here today to bring it to you and to your group. Thank you, Barry.
Yes, and it looks like you created a web page for us on your web page, so I'm going to link that to our web page.
Okay, well, yeah, just grab that link that I put up on the chat and put it on your web page when you put up the recording so people know where to go. That would be great.
Yeah, that's
That'd be
there.
great. Yeah.
Any other comments before we close?
This was great. Thank you so much. I'm going to my 4th funeral on Sunday afternoon on Zoom. It's like, whoa. And will you say anything else about your lodestone? What other things you do with it?
Well, lodestone is it's a scientific term. You can look it up. Lodestones usually have magnets. They're magnetized. Your stone isn't a magnet, but it's a lodestone because you've loaded it with your essence. So a lodestone is something that can carry precious things for you. And you can put it again on an altar or keep it around. You can use it, especially if you have a delight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So a lodestone is something that holds your heart wisdom. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I was a caregiver in the past, but not lately. So I know that.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's challenging, but it's also a precious time.
Right. No, some of the best moments of my husband, of my whole marriage, were in the last couple months. That was like some of the best times we ever had. So
Isn't that amazing?
yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Okay, let's call it a good day. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all for joining us. Please join us again next month. And if you're not on the mailing list, if you go to interfaceboulder.org, you can join up and get a reminder, hopefully with the right link next time. All right. Be well, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.